nothing will stand in our way, and our golden age has just begun.
This is Human Events with Jack Posobiec.
Now it's time for everyone to understand what America First truly means.
Welcome to the Second American Revolution.
All right, Jack Posobiec here, Human Events Daily. We're here on the South Lawn of the White House. Very honored to be, I would say sitting down, but we're standing. So we're meeting with the Director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, Todd Lyons. Todd, thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you. I really appreciate the invite and, having the opportunity to speak on the great work men and women of ICE are doing.
Well, look, I mean, it goes without saying that, but on behalf of the Human Events audience, the Real America's Voice Network, we just want to say thank you to the men and women of ICE. I've done some work going around and see some of the border stations with Secretary Noem since she's come in. Certainly, if there's ever anything we can do to help give you guys more coverage, this is a mission that our audience is behind 100%.
No, and that's great. We do feel the support. I'm very proud of the fact that ICE is doing great work in the community. Despite a lot of the rhetoric you hear coming at the mission we're doing right now. But we're dedicated to our law enforcement mission. And, under this administration, under Secretary Noem, under President Trump, we're allowed to do our law enforcement mission again. And that's what I want the American people to see. I want them to see what the men and women of ICE go out every day and bravely do, getting the worst of the worst out of our neighborhoods.
And this is something that's so clear because the neighborhoods that you go into, we keep hearing this narrative from the media that ICE is intimidating these neighborhoods or that ICE is somehow creating problems in the community. They like to stir up stories like this Kilmar Garcia story. Yet at the same time, the people that you're getting rid of, they're the ones causing problems in those communities because they're the ones time and time again, whenever we see these rap sheets, we see what they've been doing. And we see that many times you guys already have the derogatory information. You know what these guys have been up to. And you're liberating those communities. You're making those communities safer for the families, the children, the moms and dads, the older people who live there.
And it's not even U.S. citizens that these criminal aliens go back and prey upon. The whole narrative of sanctuary jurisdictions makes it unsafe for the migrant community as well. Because there's this fear that if you call 911, if you report a crime, you're going to be deported. That's not the case. And when these sanctuary jurisdictions release these criminal aliens, these people that they already found to be a danger, that they've already arrested and locked up, when they don't work with ICE, we have to send more agents into the community. We would love to go to a police station, a local jail, 1 or 2 agents, and take custody of these criminal aliens and get them out of the country. But instead, sanctuary jurisdictions allow these criminal aliens, these predators, to go back out and commit more crime. And that's what ICE is dedicated to. We're not going to allow these criminal aliens, these known suspected terrorists, or these gang members go out and hurt another American citizen or anyone here in the country.
Well, I mean, I can speak from experience. In my hometown, Narsetown, Pennsylvania, became essentially a sanctuary city. Started all the way back in the 2000s, and I've seen how it destroys communities. It absolutely guts them. People who are in good families, they want to get out because and you don't want who wants their kids around that, and it brings an element that is criminal. And then unfortunately, you've got people, they might be in poverty for various reasons, and now they're stuck there. Now that criminal element is preying upon those people that are in poverty, and you just got this downward spiral. And you see this happen in sanctuary city after sanctuary city. When it comes to those situations, and let's talk about sanctuary cities, for example, that do you find that it's more the police? Do they want to help ICE, or is it the politicians that are coming in and just putting the block in?
No, the local law enforcement wants to help ICE, right? But it's, what's very disheartening for us is when local elected officials put fear into another law enforcement agency of discipline or termination for working with another federal agency. For us, it's hard for us to even comprehend when an elected official wants to go to bat or try to defend an MS-13 gang member, a child predator rapist. Why would that person want to be in the community? I don't know how that fits into anyone's political narrative, because it's not a politics issue, it's a public safety issue. And that's the biggest concern for us.
I couldn't agree more, and you certainly see the twisting of politics. as it gets involved, and they try to pretend that these animals, these predators, are somehow, they always have the narrative. Well, they just want to work, they just want to be here to help, and then you find out what they've done, and suddenly it comes out every single time. This is done, horrific violence or horrific preying upon others, even the labor trafficking and others. Talk to me a little bit about that, though, and you've talked about how local politicians put fear into the local police officers, but at the same time, you're also seeing the targeting of ICE officers, and people will say, "Oh, well, why are they going out in the masks?" And I've said this on the show here. Well, that's because of doxing. That's because that people have been going on social media and looking up the information using facial recognition software that's out there to be able to track these agents. How has the agent community felt in the face of all of this?
The best thing about ICE is we're a resilient group. There's some brave men and women, like I said earlier, that are very proud to do their job again. But unfortunately, they have to think of their families. That's why you see ICE agents masked. Now, if you look at the last administration, or even the first 2 months, January, February, this administration, you didn't see ICE officers wearing masks. But instead, we've seen an uptick of violence. We're over 1,000% increase the last year of violence and assault on ICE agents. But take the agent out of the equation. You have some personnel say, well, that comes with being in law enforcement. Your family being threatened, your kid's Instagram being posted somewhere, or you have elected officials calling for no rest for ICE agents or their families, that is what's wrong. It's the fiery rhetoric that are putting ICE agents and their families in the line of fire. And I know, because I speak from experience, under the last administration, I was doxxed. I had Antifa show up at my house at 3 o'clock in the morning. No law enforcement agent doing their job needs that, and that's what needs to stop.
Well, it's very simple, and then that we shouldn't ever involve families in this. And sure, when it comes to this type of enforcement, you would expect that from, I don't know, the narco cartels. You would expect that from, if someone's a member of some terrorist cell that's operating inside the United States, but you wouldn't expect that from fellow citizens.
No, and what's frustrating too is I think a lot of people don't educate themselves, whether an elected official or there's someone that doesn't agree with the ICE mission. More than 70% of the people we arrest have some type of criminal charge, whether pending or convicted. But that's just not the case. These people may be wanted from another country or have a significant criminal history that they're fleeing from their home country. So when ICE is being painted as we're going out and just rounding up a worker or rounding up people trying to make a better life, people just don't educate themselves on that person and what ICE is actually doing to make America safe again.
Well, in many of these cases, I would like to ask, because there's something that I've noticed as well, that it seems as though that, because some of the raids that have been done, and obviously I understand you can't get into too much operational, so I'll speak vaguely here, but it seems as though immigration fraud is something that's being cracked down on a little bit harder now. Do I have that right?
It is. Under President Trump, under this, this administration, we've opened up the full immigration portfolio. We're no longer doing law enforcement by just an executive order or kind of skewing the law to make it fit one side of the aisle. What we're doing is we're focused on everything. And, immigration, enforcement, it might not be a criminal act, or a victimless act, but you have criminal aliens that are using U.S. citizens' social security numbers, tax fraud, voting fraud. And that's why we're cracking down, too, on a lot of these American businesses. Because
and that's what I mean.
These American businesses are making money off the backs and the sweat of these people, but they're also encouraging human trafficking, sex trafficking, forced labor. So we're holding those business owners accountable as well, because it's not just a victimless crime.
Well, and it's very simple to me that in so many of these cases, we understand that, look, if I were in a situation like that, I'd probably break into the United States to work illegally as well if I was coming from one of these places. I get that. But at the same time, if you've got someone who's exploiting that person who's in need, now you're creating that toxic necessity, that toxic need for them to come in to say, oh, well, you've got to work for me. You might have a slave labor situation. You might have, indentured servitude, the new, they call it modern slavery, these types of things, because this is what ends up happening, that you're stuck. They've got no way to get out. And suddenly they're basically having to work for this business owner while living in who knows what kind of conditions.
Well, 100%. And when you think about that, too, that kind of goes in line with the sanctuary narrative, because these business owners, they frighten them. Right, the narrative's out there that if they report or they try to get away, then ICE is going to deport them and they're going to be worse off. But at the same time, a lot of these people are being exploited by the cartels and these foreign terrorist organizations that are feeding this pipeline that are supporting American businesses. just to make money. And that's where we have to hold everyone accountable.
Last question. I could be here all day. If you had to put a number on it, or does ICE have an official number, total amount of illegals we think are in the country?
You know, we don't, but what I will tell you is we are focused on the more than 1.8 million that have final orders of deportation and the countless hundreds that are being released 24 hours a day from sanctuary jurisdictions when our detainers aren't honored and they go back to our community. And we can't think of numbers large term. We have to think of going out and making sure we find those immediate public safety threats so they don't hurt anyone again.
Where can people go if they want to sign? If people are interested that want to join ICE, where can they go?
You can go to joinice.gov. You go to all our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and X. We're looking for brave men and women that want to come out and have a great federal law enforcement career and be a part of a great agency.
Join.ice.gov. Thank you once again, and God bless to all the men and women out there.